A very good afternoon to all the students present for this session on compensation and reward management. Uh, Students, we have discussed two different concepts of this compensation management practices. We have talked of the principle of equity and the principle of fairness. In this third module, we started off with a brief discussion of this principle of equity, where we have understood that all the jobs should be paid equally, right? And all the jobs which are similar in terms of their duties, responsibilities, nature of operations, hazards involved, threats involved, they should be compensated with similar amount of values, right? So the concept was more evolving around the jobs, and that is the reason why we needed to understand the basic components that comprises the job. We had a detailed discussion on the different aspects of job analysis and job evaluation. We have understood how through the methods of job evaluation, like may it be the ranking method, may it be the classification or grading method, may it be the point rating system or factor comparison, the common methods through which these jobs are to be evaluated. And in the process, we have understood that these jobs are further analyzed in detail to formulate these job descriptions and job specifications. And basically, when it comes to the jobs, we refer to these job descriptions, all the factors that comprises the job, and basing on the factors, we evaluate the worth of the job. Now, we have also understood the basic components, pay components, right? Like we have understood the basic wages or salaries, they comprises of the basic structure, what we referred it as the pay band, base bands of any organizational hierarchy, and different pay bands can be there, which are to be based on this job evaluation process, which has to be created on this job evaluation process. We have also seen this dearness allowances as a part of the basic pay, as because frequent pay revisions may not be possible. We discussed that as per the provisions of the Minimum Wages Act, these wages are to be revised as and when required, but not exceeding a period of 5 years. Similarly, pay commissions are appointed once in 10 years' time, and in between the time elapsed doesn't ensure that the price of the commodity is remaining same. So to cope with the increasing cost of living index, increasing price index, this dearness allowance is introduced as a part of the basic pay. We have discussed other pays like all other variable pays. We talked of this allowances, incentives, bonus, ESOPs, employee stock ownership plans, option plans, right? And the various fringe benefits that we administered as a part of the non-payroll related benefits. And I'd like to ensure over here one thing that we discussed in some of our previous classes, that human beings or people or the employees, workers, they don't live by bread and butter only. This is a basic concept. Right? But still, these wages and salaries remains to be one of the most important aspects that leads to motivation of the workers itself. But when it comes to motivation of the workers, we need to understand that employees will not be motivated by satisfying their lower order needs. As per the Maslow's need priority model, if you talk of those physiological needs, safety needs, social needs, which are categorized as the lower order needs. Now, this fulfillment of lower order needs requires money or certain amount of worth of it, right? But ensuring that people do fulfill their lower order needs will motivate people may be a myth for us. So, what can really motivate people? Satisfaction of higher order needs, fulfillment of those higher order needs, maybe self-esteem and actualization needs. And when we do refer to this with Herzberg's two-factor theory, we say that if these lower order needs are not fulfilled, then people will have dissatisfaction. But ensuring that these lower order needs are established in the organization people may not be satisfied. That will remove the level of dissatisfaction. But to make the people satisfied, you need to think of providing certain higher order needs. Right? That is the reason why this non-payroll related benefits are being administered, which can really provide a level of motivation to the people itself. But beyond that, some other theories like the Stacey Adams equity theory, when we refer to this equity principles, right? The theory says that people always compare their contribution and the outcome of their contribution with the contributions made by others, with the outcome of others to define the level of motivation or satisfaction at the place of work. How much I do contribute, and in return, what I am getting, how much others do contribute, and in return, what others do get. So that is what that will decide the level of satisfaction that I may draw at the place of work. So when we do talk of these internal equities, that is a basic principle that this all the jobs, right, should be paid equally. So that should not create any kind of demotivational factor among the workers, that they are being paid less than that of others, which may demoralize them, which may create a level of ownership within themselves. So through the processes of job analysis, job evaluation, where we have understood how these jobs are factorized, then related monetary worth is assigned to each and every factor, and at the end, that each and every job is assigned with certain monetary worth. That is how it created a hierarchy of jobs, what we call it as the pay bands, job bands, right? But at the same time, we need to understand one more thing. What about the people who belong to the same sort of industry, who carry out similar sort of skills or similar sort of potentials, work in similar sort of industry, work in similar sort of locality or economic zone, and they do get more than us or less than us? So that deviates the principle of external equity. As if we have understood that this equity is required internally, in a similar way, the principle of equity is equally required to be ensured for external organizations, external jobs also. This is what sometimes before we discussed it in terms of the market-based pay system, right? Or market pay rate, what the other organizations are paying. If I'm not going to pay that much to my workers, other organizations means, of course, they do belong to similar industry and of course belonging to the similar locality. If I cannot ensure that much, that minimum amount of money what the other organizations are paying, so there is a high probability of employee turnover. The employees can switch from my organization to their organizations. So there's a probability of losing good employees, and it's a very dangerous sign for the organizations. At any cost, you have to retain your most valuable employees. They are the people who will bring a difference to your organization, the people who are responsible for achieving the organization's goals, right? So external equity has to be ensured at any cost in the organization. As if we have understood that these internal equities can be ensured through proper job analysis and job evaluation. Similarly, external equities can also be ensured through proper wage surveys and pay surveys. Wage surveys and pay surveys. If we do not carry out these wage surveys and pay surveys on a long run, it may so happen that the external equity principle may not be achieved, and it may lead either to turnover of the employees or lower morale of the employees, demotivation for the employees, like that only, right? So we need to ensure this external equity along with this internal equity, and for that we need to carry out this pay surveys in general. Now, what are the basic requirements of this pay surveys? Like before carrying out this pay survey as a process of the organization, what we need to understand is the basic prerequisites. If we are going for a pay survey process, then we need to understand what are the information that actually we need to collect or we need to find out of the pay surveys. So what sort of information this pay surveys will provide us as an outcome? That is what we need to understand. Second, we discussed that jobs are numerous. There can be plenty of jobs, right? And that is the reason why in the job analysis process or maybe in the job evaluation process, we have carried out a particular process called selecting a representative job from a job family. Job family represents the groups of jobs comprising of similar sort of duties, responsibilities, nature of operations, hazards involved, like that. All the jobs which do have similar sort of characteristics are combined together to define a job family. Okay? So we can think of any such job from the job family to be evaluated or to be analyzed. And here also you can think of not getting in general for all the jobs in the organization, but certain specific jobs are to be selected as a representative job for which you are going to collect all the detailed information, pertinent information from the market, from the surroundings, right? Then, third thing is that we need to think of selecting a particular unit or particular organization from which we should be able to get all those detailed information that is required for carrying out this pay service. Then we need to talk of all those organizations which do have or which do belong to similar sort of industries first. They do have similar sort of processes, it be production or service delivery. They are into similar sort of operations, and mostly they carry out the jobs which do resemblance the jobs of yours. Right? Place of the organization again is a very important aspect, because if the places do change, economies do change, right? Or places do change, demographics do change. So there may be other aspects of the jobs which has to be taken into consideration. So may not be required or similar as of your requirements. So understanding these three things, now in the back of our mind, we need to have three particular information. First is what the job is all about. So we need to talk of particular aspects of the job. Second, we need to talk of the representative jobs for which we need to collect the information. Third, like what organization we should benchmark from which we can collect this information in detail, right? So having these things in our mind, whenever we are going for these pay surveys, we can understand these pay surveys which can be done in three different ways. First is a informal survey. Now, what is this informal survey? This is basically, this kind of surveys are carried out with a personal approach to the people known to you in different organizations. Right? This informal surveys can be carried out through the process of conversation only, where you can trust or rely on the source of the information. So people belonging to different industry, different organizations known to you, you collect the basic information from them. Now, the advantage of this method is that here the information that you receive from the employees or from your contacts can be taken as worthy, can be taken as what you can say appropriate, right? Because you rely on that particular person from whom you are getting this information, right? So you can rely on the information or the validity of that particular information to an extent, right? You can think of getting this information as an overall aspect of the job, but the demerit is that here you are completely relying on a single source of information. Okay. And again, the information that you do receive is based on the job title. So here you are comparing the whole job as a source of getting the information. So may not be a scientific way of getting the information, right? But at times you can also think of carrying out this when no other option is available to you for this space. And external surveys are there, which these external surveys are mostly confined to these salaried employees, salary earning groups itself. And sometimes you do have certain professional bodies, right, which do carry out this pay service for their members only, and they do come out with these reports of their pay service. So if you can think of utilizing those reports based on the requirement of your jobs, based on the requirement of the entire process, you can also utilize them, right? Sometimes you do see there are consultants which do come up with certain activities, right, to carry out these pay surveys for certain range of management positions. So you can also think of getting those information from those consultants itself. But you have to, like, and repeatedly I'm telling this to you, you have to check the validity of those information based on your requirement, based on your jobs, right? So if the jobs do differ, nature of the organization do differ, so you shouldn't get the information arbitrarily available in the market. So whatever information is required, that has to be strategically defined and that has to be collected into, right? Sometimes you do find out this information from certain employment agencies, right, where no sometimes they go for these career registers, right, based on the salaries of the employees. So with that only you can get the input, the what sort of pay packages being provided by the other organizations in the similar sort of locality or the similar sort of area itself. So these are the part of these external surveys that you can think of. Or if these external surveys are not there, informal surveys cannot be possible, you can always rely on this commission method. In this commission method, what you do is that you simply hire an addition, an external consultant, outsource the job of this pay survey to these external consultants, and you will see that these consultants will do the job for you. So they will take all the pain to carry out this pay survey processes, job survey or wage survey processes in the organizations. Okay? So depending on the requirements, depending on the kind of jobs you are having, depending on the kind of industry to which you belong, you can rely on either one of these methods, or you can rely on a combination of any of the two or three methods that you can think of. Right? So understanding these pay surveys, we need to talk of the external survey method, and external survey methods will be based on three different methods, right? But anyhow, whenever we do talk of these wage surveys or pay surveys, and we do talk of collecting certain information from the external organizations, right? So there we need to think of the basic method of getting those information, right? As if we do talk of these external survey methods, so external survey methods can be the secondary data collection methods. External survey methods can also be primary data collection methods. So what sort of methods you are depending on? Like whether you are going for a questionnaire, to talk of position analysis questionnaires are there, job analysis questionnaires are there. So whenever you are going for a pay survey, so do you like to rely on a questionnaire method where you can circulate this questionnaire to all other organizations and the organizations can fill it up, give you back, and you will do analysis out of that. But mostly, these compensation related aspects are, not being disclosed in public, right? So what it happens, no, if it is really required, then most of the time these questionnaire methods may not be suitable also. Right? Other things that you need to take is like whether you are going for is scheduled interviews or you are going for log records, you are going for critical incident methods. So what actually is applicable on your organization may not be applicable to the other organization. So if you really think of getting the information, what is sought for your organization, you need to think of the benchmarked organization from where you would like to have those information, right? And accordingly to devise that method, okay, whether it should be questionnaire, interviews, scheduled interviews, what that you need to take into consideration, right? Whether it is primary or secondary, first you need to take that also into consideration. However, whenever it comes to this external survey methods, we carry out these external survey methods in three different ways. One is a job title method, job description method, and job evaluation method. So what is a job title method? Job title method is a way of carrying out all the pertinent facts related to the job based on its title or based on the job as a whole. So suppose I do have a position of a fitter in my organization or a welder in my organization, right? So I need to collect the information of these fitters and welders of different organizations or my benchmark organization, right? But question is that to what extent do you believe that nowadays the designations or the titles are what it seems to be normal in our previous days, right? The question is it that the only responsibility of a feeder is defined, or the responsibilities of a welder as a welder is defined? Many such additional tasks are being assigned to the people working in, or working for the organization, additional responsibilities. So in that case, how do you define or how do you compare the individual jobs that is being defined for certain people in your organization and that is defined in some other way for the workers in the other organization? So unless and until I do have a detailed aspects of the job, comparing the jobs on the basis of the titles only is not a good idea at the present time, because the expectations of the organizations are different from the people. The people do have different expectations from the organization. So how do you cope with that? How do you cope with the changes that happens between people and the organization? Okay. So even if this job title method is one of the simplest way of carrying out the pay survey, simplest in a sense, you don't need to break these jobs into factors and then you go for collecting particular information, cannot be, right? So you collect the information as a whole based on the job title. Similarly, for executives, you can think of, say, assistant manager production. So collect the information on the basis of this title, assistant manager production. Now, this production managers beyond their production schedule might be associated with some other responsibilities, which doesn't form a part of their job, right? But nowadays you need to think of that only. So job title method, even if it is a simplest way of carrying out this pay service, but is a very informal way of collecting the information, right? And it collects the information on the basis of the title only, right? Job as a whole. So not, it's okay. Small organizations, it's okay, but for large organizations, it's not suitable. Right? You can think of the second method, which is otherwise called as this job description method. So we have understood this job description in some of our previous classes. Job description defines all the pertinent facts that comprises the job. So the outcome of this job analysis program is job description and job specification. And when we talk of these job descriptions, we say that all pertinent facts about the job, right? Like the nature of the job, job title, job content, the various tools required to perform that job, equipments required, what sort of threats or hazards involved, to what extent it is, or what is the frequency of that occurrence. All of these will be a part of the job description method. Now here in this external survey method, if we go for this job description method, that will be a more specific pay survey. In a sense, here you're not comparing jobs in terms of the title, but you're comparing the jobs in terms of the factors that comprises the job. But we need to understand one thing over here, that whenever you are carrying out this job description method, right? So there you need to think of the factors, but the factors that you need to take for the purpose of evaluation should be same, right? So if the organizations do have similar sort of factors for the same job, okay? And the way these factors are associated with certain monetary oath, that can be referred. That's what we call it as a job description. So job description and the title method may difference. Like in the title method, you compare the whole job with the whole job. But in job description method, the job is further broken down into certain factors. So may it be like, certain job related factors, may it be certain individual related factors also. Leadership, team building, all of those factors can be there, right? So which factor is common to all the jobs, all like both the organizations? That is what we need to understand and carry out, right? And the third such method that is being undertaken is this job evaluation. Now, what is this job evaluation then? Assigning monetary worth to the various factors that we found out from the job description. But if you're talking of evaluating, if you're talking of adopting this job evaluation process or job evaluation method as the pay survey method, you need to select those organizations only which have carried out this job evaluation method in a similar way as your organization has done. Right? Say we discussed 4 such important methods. One is a ranking method, the second one is a grading or classification method, third one is a point rating system, fourth one is a factor comparison method. So if you have taken point rating system to evaluate the jobs, the other organization I should benchmark must take that point rating system only. Otherwise, there will be mismatches. right? So evaluation methods must be same, facts must be same. Then only a proper pay surveys can be conducted. Right? Hope this could have pretty clear up to now how this external pay survey methods are being taken into consideration in this jobs being evaluated. Right? Further moving. Three such important processes that I told you, like one is the selection of representative jobs, right? Now, whenever you are going for the selection of these key jobs or the jobs which are to be benchmarked from other organizations, right? So you need to think of collecting all the pertinent facts, sufficient amount of information, right, from those organizations, from those jobs, right, which will help us in formulating our own wage policy, wage structure, right? So, what are the considerations that you need to take into account? The first is that these jobs will be distributed over the range of jobs in the organization. So, it's not that you can think of collecting the information related to a particular job in certain areas and ignore other areas. Even if I do talk of creating a pay band for assistant manager, right? But in the assistant managerial position, HR people would be there, finance people would be there, right? So different uh, positions or different in the same hierarchy. When you have different positions, do they have similar sort of duties and responsibilities? No. So you have to pick those jobs from different areas where the duties and responsibilities differ significantly, and these jobs would be distributed from the entire range of jobs of the organization. So if I have to think of different verticals, I need to think of different jobs of different verticals. I need to think of different verticals, jobs in different verticals in different hierarchies. So all of these jobs are to be taken into consideration. Not that only one job can be compared with the other jobs. Second, these jobs are to be relatively stable in these recent years, like in the couple of years past. We have understood, we have witnessed many such jobs which have extincted, particularly with the this COVID situations. There are many such traditional jobs which lost their relevance. So we are passing through a phase of transformation. And what we need to understand is that in the process of transformation, certain traditional orthodox jobs may lose their relevance. Some new jobs may emerge in due course of time. Right? So if I have selected a particular job in my organization where I understand that a similar sort of job are no more existing in the other organizations. So can that be a right option for this pay service? And to think of that, the jobs which actually are stable jobs, right? Maybe in recent years, maybe in future also. The jobs should exist in these nearby and competing companies in a sense, as I said, each and every job has got its unique features, unique aspects, right? So whenever we are carrying out these jobs are to be carried out with their unique features. So all other organizations to whom I have benchmarked, they should be having the similar sort of jobs, right? So I need to understand how these jobs are to be taken into consideration. These jobs should be filled by large number of workers as possible. Fill means I'm talking of in jobs where total number of artisans associated with that job will be something like 20 something like that. And I'm talking of a particular job where the minimum number of artisans or the workers associated are 500, 600,000. So which job will be a better idea to select as a representative job? Now, definitely the jobs which engages more and more manpower, because we can easily collect all the pertinent facts from those people only who are associated with that particular job, right? So it should be filled by large number of workers as possible. There should not be an unusual shortage or surplus of workers or labor forces for a particular job. Now, each and every job has or each and every job is evaluated in terms of three basic characteristics, right? Nowadays, we do talk of these recruiters evaluating each and every job on the basis of attitude. Second one is skill. Third one is knowledge. So knowledge doesn't make a difference or doesn't bring any kind of difference to the organization if the previous two, like the attitude to learning is a lifelong process, but like people should have that learning attitude, right? And second one is skill. If the people are skilled enough, they can do any kind of jobs, they can carry out any kind of jobs out there, right? So the labor market, trend is completely based on the skill category of the workers, the labor force, right? So whether the people do belong to, in a normal sense, people do belong to uh, unskilled category, semi-skilled category, skilled category, highly skilled category. If they carry out the jobs in different verticals of the organization, so do they have the competency? Do they have the capability to carry out their job in an efficient and effective way? Right? So always this labor market trend is evaluated in terms of the skill available or skill shortage. Surplus skill, shortage of skill. Right? So workers in terms of their skill are also to be decided upon for this pay service. Right? So one thing we have discussed is how we need to select a particular job in in a pay survey process. But we need to think of selecting the second one, that is the organization. How can we select the organization? Actually, it's a process of benchmarking. I need to set certain standards for benchmarking a particular organization for this pay service, right? So the basic condition is that this any kind of unit or organization you are thinking of, that should be present around the same locality, around the same industrial zones, or should be located in the same SEZs, special economic zones, right? So where this industry is located, that is also a factor to be taken into consideration. Like we do talk of economies do change, the pay packages will change. I've given you the example, the same position, same designation, Infosys Bhubaneswar and Infosys Bangalore do have different pay packages, okay? Based on the cost of living in this. So that's the reason whenever you are talking of carrying out a wage survey, that should be based on the organizations present in the same locality. Okay? Then the size of the unit of the plant. Right? If you are running a massive plant with some 10,000, 15,000 workers, then the jobs or the nature of jobs would be something else than comparing it to an organization which employs only 50 or 60, right? So the size of the unit, that unit job. Type of the ownership also is mandatory to take into consideration. Like, you know, government organizations, public sector organizations, and private sector organizations do have significant differences in terms of the total processes, where people can really refer to government jobs as the easiest level of thing to do, like, but may not be. So we can think of the type of organization to which we belong should be same. Okay? And we this information that we collect about the organization is one of the most important aspects of the organizations, right? So thereby collecting all those pertinent facts about the organization is also very important, right? To top of collecting certain general information like name of the company, products manufactured, type of ownership, number of employees. These are certain generic information that we need to collect from the organizations itself, right? But whenever we are talking of these organizations in general, right, we need to collect specific information from the organizations, like number of weekly and daily working hours, what is the lunch and tea breaks. Now we have understood that above all these, right, you do have your legal implications. Legal implications, in a sense, we discussed that Factories Act 1948. They have got all the defined schedules related to these working hours and working conditions, right? Say, Factories Act 1948 says, in any case, the employees of the organizations cannot be allowed to work for 48 hours a week or 6 days. They are going to give one day as a weekly off, 6 days a week, 48 hours. We say 8 hours on an average per day, right? Which can be stretched to 9 hours with the permission of factory inspectors, with a gap of 30 minutes as the rest hours, lunch hours, right? So in any case, the worker cannot be allowed to work for more than 5 hours. He is not allowed to work for more than 5 hours at a stretch. You have to give the employee a break of 30 minutes, at least after 5 hours, right? So whether these are the things which are included in your survey, that's what you need to say. Beyond that, central leave and state leave rules are applicable on certain organizations. So, how many days of CL, casual leave, earned leave, medical leaves, half average pays you can take or you can opt for is what that decides. So, how many number of holidays that you take once in a week? Similarly, certain compensatory holidays are there. In certain number of days, if you have worked for the organization on a holiday, so you're liable to get 1 day as a compensatory off in lieu of the day you have worked in that organization, right? So uh, beyond this, privilege leaves are there, sick leaves are there, maternity leaves are there. All of these are the information that we need to collect from the organization, right? Similarly, the basic wages, the scale of pay itself, right? And I have all pertinent facts related to the pay band they do have. Challenges most of the organizations don't share their policies related to compensation, right? So scale of pay क्या है, उनके pay bands and all those things. Certain common information you will have. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to collect directly, right? Allowances, you have understood different sort of allowances are there, like DA, DNS allowance is what that like forms a part of the basic pay. So mostly these DNS allowances are defined by the appropriate government. So the central government or maybe the respective state governments, they do come out with the allowances of this DNS allowance, right? House rent allowances are there, CT compensatory allowances are there. We had a discussion on all of those things, right? CT compensatory allowances are there, rural area allowance is there, remote area allowance is there, right? Conveyance allowance, shift allowance, each and everything. We do talk of this incentives and bonuses, overtime pays. So PBR system is what that we are referring to, right? Performance-based payment systems, right? Performance-based rewards. We do talk of that. So nowadays, just to motivate people, most of the organizations do come out with a balanced tip method where a minimum basic is guaranteed to the individual, right? Beyond that, whatever the performances will be there, that is based on the incentives. So performance-based incentives is what that we can think of, right? So incentives can their bonus. We discussed that 8.33% to 20%, irrespective of profit or loss, will be the bonus amount for the workers, employees. Okay, it's mandatory. Overtime payments, one of the like provisions of this Factories Act says that on any day, if the worker is working beyond his working schedules, he should be paid double the amount. Right? If we have fixed a hourly rate, right, and the minimum says 8 hours, which can be staged up to 9 hours. At times it can be also staged up to 10 and a half hours, 10 hours, 30 minutes, maximum for which a worker can be work, right? So for the additional 2.5 hours that the worker has done beyond his working hours, he should be paid double the amount, 5 hours close to payment, all of those things. And if the organization do carry out certain other benefits, do give certain other benefits to the workers, like we have discussed, fringe benefits, right? Benefits which is not a part of the wage and salary, but the benefits which are being provided to ensure that the workers do have a civilized life, right? So facilities for this conveyance, housing, children's education, free services like electricity, water, fuel, uniform, canteen, all of those things will be taken into consideration for carrying out the detailed pertinent facts related to the surveys, right? Pay surveys, right? Now, what we need is to understand. What we need is to understand that this pay surveys do play a very important role in terms of ensuring the external equity of the pay of the organization itself. Now, as if we have understood, you know, it's all about satisfying the expectations of the people at the place of work, right? Bloom's motivational theory says motivation will be a product of violence, instrumentality, and the inferences, right? Expectancies on this whole thing. So people system, but the amount that the people do receive because of their contribution, whether that is satisfactory or not, you need to understand that. In a sense, sometimes if the expectations of the people will be more than the actual rewards, what will happen? I like I work for an organization. I expect a salary of 40,000, right? But actually, I'm getting 30,000. So, what impact it will have? Definitely, it will be a demotivational factor for me, right? Which will lead to a level of no, a lowered satisfaction level in the organization, right? But if my actual performances will be more than that of the expected performance, the actual rewards will be more than that of the expected rewards. It will be a motivational factor for me. This is what I have expected. I got more than that. Right? Same thing happens with all other people, like all the people in the organization, when they compare themselves with the others in the organization. Maybe in the same organization or maybe in other organizations, right? So, what is required over here is to ensure that actually the people should be paid at a minimum level, but they there should be provision of the people by which they can contribute more and more towards the organizational growth, and they can be paid in terms of their contributions, right? So these pay surveys are to be taken in all seriousness to ensure that people are satisfied when they compare themselves with others in the similar locality, in the similar sort of job positions, in the similar sort of duties and responsibilities. That is how that can really motivate them to carry out the jobs. So we need to think of making the best, a compiled application of all the motivational theories, and in particularly whenever we are talking of this equity theories, right? Principle of equity that may have overpayment inequities or underpayment inequities. If my contribution is more than the other's contribution, right? And I'm getting more than the others, it's okay. It is satisfying the principle of equity. And I'm contributing less but getting more than others. So it's an overpayment inequity. I'm paid more than what I deserve. Right? If I'm paid less than what others are getting in the same job, that's a underpayment inequity. So I may be demotivated. But sometimes you need to think of creating these inequities to motivate people itself, right? Particularly during the process of transforming the organization, right? Any kind of change or development that you'd like to adopt in your organization, where you see that people of the organization do resist to those kind of new things, right? So in that case, you need to select few such group of people, right? Assign them certain tasks. On the completion of the tasks, increase their performance-based reward systems. Right? So that will boost the moral motivation of all other staff members in the organization. Right? We do talk of motivation as valence, expectancy, and instrumentality. Right? Valence is what value I am giving it to the compensation aspects. That you need to understand. Right? Whether people are motivated by lower order needs or people are motivated by higher order needs. If the employees of the organization will value more to the lower order needs, then the necessary strategies would be defined on the basis of the fulfillment of their lower order needs, means through these basic aspects of compensation and rewards, right? But if people do value more to the higher order needs, then we can think of providing them the basic, or the thrust should be on non-payroll related benefits, external benefits. Okay? So it depends on what value they do have. And other aspects are like what contribution they would like to make so that they will be able to accomplish their valued outcome. Right? So, say for example, sometimes organizations, as we discussed earlier also, sometimes organizations do, give certain foreign trips to the employees, certain FMCD products to the employees as gifts, starting from televisions to music systems, everything. Right? Now, say for example, if I do have a system of awarding the employees with a valuable foreign trip, so to what extent I should work to achieve that foreign trip depends on the value that I put it on the foreign trip. If it is that important for me, I'll contribute more and I can accomplish my reward, right? But if that doesn't have any value to me, so I'll contribute, I'll exercise lesser effects. No? So what is required is to understand that people do always compare themselves with others in the same organization, compare themselves with others from different other organizations, and accordingly the level of motivation, the level of outcome is defined. Right? So through these job evaluation processes, job analysis, job evaluation processes, we ensure that there is internal equity, and through these pay surveys we ensure that there is external equity. And whenever we are defining the entire compensation process, it should include both the internal equity and external equity principles. So both the process, job evaluation and pay surveys, are equally important. So let us end it over here, friends. Thank you very much. And tomorrow, once again, we'll continue with the rest aspect of the compensation and reward management. Tomorrow, we'll discuss the various legal considerations, like what are the things that makes this compensation practices defined, right? So thank you very much. Have a good day.